All right, so we're going to do a couple of quotes. If you guys keep asking, well, what's your problem with atheists? What's a real atheist? What's a fake one? Dan, hold up that sign. Hold up that sign. David, hold up that sign. So a lot of people are wondering what's a real or what's a fake atheist. That's my sign. What's a real or what's a fake atheist? Ernest Hemingway was a real atheist. Now, Ernest Hemingway said life is a dirty trick. It's a short journey from nothingness to nothingness. Man's existence in this universe is no different than a colony of ants trapped on a burning log. That's a brilliant quote from an atheist, because that's, if atheism was true, that's a very true statement. Where we start at nothing, we end at nothing. That line between 2 points of nothingness is nothing and meaningless. And in the end, we fade to black, and we have no appreciation for the fun things that we did do. We have no regret for the things that we could have done more of. We just fade to black, and that's it. So Ernest Hemingway had atheism right. And Macbeth, let me read the Macbeth quote again. Macbeth had it right. Macbeth was contemplating suicide in the play, and he's talking about just the meaninglessness of life, and he just wanted it to be over because he has no meaning, he has no purpose. And Macbeth said, "Out, out, brief candle," meaning I just want to die, I want my life over. "Out, out, brief candle, life's but a walking shadow, a poor player." This is what you guys, this is a description of you guys if atheism is true. "Life is but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard from no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing." Beautiful, brilliant quote from an atheistic worldview, because your life has no meaning. I want you to accept that. If atheism is true, your life has no meaning. You're going to nothing. You came from nothing. You're going to nothing. Nothing means anything. When you're gone, nothing will matter to you or to anyone else. And in the end, the sun consumes the earth, and everything that ever happened throughout all of human history means absolutely nothing. Now, do we have any atheists who are actually willing to embrace that and live their life every day as if that is the truth? Anyone? Did you have a comment about Ernest Hemingway?
So there's a big difference.
Thank you.
There's a big difference between us and ants floating down a river, and that's that we can really understand the universe around us. The fact that we exist means that the universe has an observer. So right now you're here witnessing for God. We witness as humans for the entire universe. That's a big fundamental difference between us existing and us not existing. The entire universe is changed because it has an observer now. And not only an observer, but people who can really understand how it works. And that, I think, is the purpose of life.
Why is it more value to have an observer than to not have an observer?
Well, I can't really answer that, because how do you define value? What is value?
I don't think an atheist can, because I don't think an atheist can say there are things that are more valuable than others. I don't think an atheist can say there are things that are more right or wrong. I can't tell you how many untold minutes I have spent out here trying to get an atheist to tell me why raping a child is wrong from an atheistic worldview, if atheism is true, and they can't do it. So observing the world doesn't make it any more valuable. The elements are still the elements that are in the universe. Someone looking at them, someone having light shining into their eyeballs, doesn't make the universe any more valuable or important. It's just elements, a universe filled with elements doing what elements have to do when combined with each other.
So if the word of God had never been read, that would be valueless too.
I'm not out here to talk about the Word of God. I'm out here to make you atheists better.
If a painting had never been looked at, the painting would be less valuable.
Says who?
Well,
all the chemicals that made up that paint and that canvas are still there, whether someone looked at it or not.
We're not just life.
All right. I haven't heard from this guy. Maybe this guy's got something good to say. You got something good to say here? I like him.
Between us and a pile of chemicals laying in a corner is we have brains, we have neurons that fire. We think. That's where our morality comes from. We think about things and before we act on them. That's how we know that a rapist raping a child is bad.
Why is raping a child bad? Maybe you can answer that for me.
Because we think about it.
Because we think about it?
Yes.
So if nobody thought about it, it would be okay?
Morality comes from our brains. It doesn't come from some ether out there.
How do you get that? All your brain is just the same chemicals. Your brain is just hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, whatever collection of elements make up your brain.
And yet it stores memories, and I can remember things. So obviously it works.
So if you remembering rape or not remembering rape, will that make it better or worse? I'm just trying to figure out if all of your brain is just like the rest of your body. It's just chemicals.
The difference between us and random chemicals is these chemicals have order. They're put together in a certain way.
The chemicals in that tree have order.
Take a science class.
The chemicals in that tree have order. The chemicals in a diamond, the chemicals in a diamond have order. The chemicals in just the dirt have order.
Dirt doesn't have a brain.
Having a brain, just because you have different chemicals up at the top of your head, doesn't make them any more valuable.
These chemicals actually do something.
All chemicals do something.
Yeah, but these make us think.
Says who?
All chemicals don't make us think.
All chemicals don't make you think?
Go take a science class.
I think you guys, I wish I could find some good scientific atheists out here, because so far it's been kind of a chance that we might have a really good question here.
All right. Well, what I wanted to ask you about was...
yeah, okay.
As you...
It's recording. Make sure you can hear she's not talking to you.
I'm asking everybody the same questions, both people from every point. The questions I'm asking are what the future, what is it that you're fearing in particular is a sign for you that would be a sign of the growing secularization? Like, I know there's a number of issues that are concerned for you, but what I'd love to know is if there's one or two that you want to say are particularly the troublesome signs of a secular future.
That's a great question. Her question is, what are one or two things that I see as troubling signs of the continuing secularization of America? Is that a fair recap? I would say, and I'll kind of break my rule a little bit, and I'll talk a little bit about God here because of the question that she has. I'm kind of forced to. I would say, well, in 1973, this nation made it legal to chop up babies in their mother's womb and say it was perfectly fine and perfectly legal. That's probably the point at which God started removing his hand of protection off of this nation. So, on September 11th, not too far from here, the Pentagon got hit on September 11th. And on September 11th, over almost 3,000 innocent Americans were killed in those terrorist attacks on September 11th, 2001. Everybody knows about it. We still talk about it today. But statistically, on that same day, over 3,000 babies were murdered in their mother's womb in America, and nobody said a word. And the next day, and the media didn't cover it, and the next day, to my knowledge, there were no terrorist attacks in America on September 12th, 2001, but on average, over 3,000 babies were again murdered in their mother's womb through abortion on September 12th, 2001, and again, the media was silent and nobody said a word. And on average, every day since then, over 3,000 babies get murdered in their mother's womb. God is no longer going to be protecting America that murders innocent babies. And also then, about a year ago, we were up here for the court case, then this nation allowed same-sex marriage. So that which God calls a vile affection and abomination, this nation said not only is homosexuality acceptable, but homosexual marriage is the law of the land. God's judgment will come severely on a nation that
How tolerant?
Sodom and Gomorrah. He did it in the days of Noah, and then this other one. I live in North Carolina, where we started up this stupid this bathroom bill, and we have a wicked right there in the middle of the Bible Belt, Charlotte, North Carolina, the Bible Belt of America, and that city council said it was okay for pervert men to be in the same bathrooms and showers with women and little girls. God will not continue. God will not protect a nation that allows murder, that allows homosexuality, that allows sexual perversion. It's just not going to happen, and that's where the secularization of America is leading us.
What about murdering in the name of God?
Talking to her.
The issue for you is that God's hand was closer to being protecting America, and the more secular we get less protection?
Oh yeah, that's happened throughout history. That's a great question. She said, so as we become more and more secular, that God's protection is more and more removed from this nation. Yeah, that's a great point. She asks great questions. These are the types of questions that are really good. You have the best, you win best questions of the day. I like that. Yes, God is removing it again. I'm officially breaking my code because I like her questions. Yes, God is definitely removing his protection. He did it in Sodom and Gomorrah. And this is what we tell Christians. This is what we tell the phony Christians out there in America. We say God does not have a problem destroying 99% of a population if only 1% is willing to live holy and obediently to him. We'll say that to atheists. We say that mostly to phony Christians. We'll say that to any crowd we preach to, football game, whatever. God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, and over 99% of that population was wiped out. God didn't have a problem because God said if he could find 10, just simply 10 righteous people in the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, he would have spared them. And that's where America is getting.
I have one last question. Can you, I would love to know what an example of God's protecting hand in America was.
Okay.
I'd love to know what showed you that there was a protecting hand of God.
Oh, I don't know. That's another great question. What showed me that there actually was ever a protecting hand? Well, I think this nation was founded. Now, albeit I'm not here to defend the founding fathers because slavery was completely wrong. That was vile and wicked. But I think we were founded. We were founded under Christian principles. That we're created by God. We are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. So we actually, aside pretty much from the slavery issue, which was wicked and ungodly and unchristian, this nation was founded under godly principles, and we succeeded. And there's wealth here in America. There's natural resources in America. God bless this nation. We became, we existed for so much shorter than so many other nations, and we rose up to be very powerful. But we also have to use that power wisely. We have to use that power wisely and not be, whatever. So yeah, I'm glad I am answering it. We rose to power over all those decades as one of the most powerful nation in the world. Maybe, aside from maybe Alexander the Great, maybe the most powerful nation in history. And now we're spitting in God's face.
I have just one more question.
You can have as many questions as you want. You have the best questions of the day.
I see you have an anti-porn.
Yes, anti-porn budge.
So we know that the majority of porn is consumed by people who live in red states. It looks like a Republican population. What do you think is causing that?
Well, let me keep that. That's a good
What do
question.
you think is, because these were people you might think of as Christians.
Yeah, that's a great question.
What's
your first name again?
Annabelle.
Annabelle. All right. Annabelle's has another great question. Annabelle said, well, she noticed my no porn button, and she says, most of the porn seems to be, consumed on websites from red states. And why is that? What would be the cause of that? Well, because Jesus said, many will come to me on that day and say, Lord, Lord, didn't we prophesy in your name and do great and mighty works in your name and cast out demons in your name? They'll say, depart from me, you worker of iniquity, I never knew you. I spend most of my year rebuking the Bible Belt. This is only second time I've preached in Washington, D.C.
How do we then know, how do we identify the true Christian?
Okay, how do we identify the true Christians? Again, I'm breaking my rule because Annabelle has the best questions of the day. So I am going to give you guys a little bit of gospel, a little bit of preaching here instead of just talking about atheism. How do we know the true Christians? Well, like I said, that's what we spend most of our year doing is rebuking phony Christians. That's who I have the most anger towards because they're in the most danger with God because they know the truth, but they're still living their life wickedly. Jesus said, if you love me, keep my commandments. Jesus said, why do you call me Lord, Lord, and do not the things that I command? The Bible says, by this we know that we know him if we obey his commandments. Anyone who says, I know God, and does not keep his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in them. So how do you tell a real Christian from a phony? When somebody comes up to us, when we're preaching outside of a football game, and somebody comes up and says, I am a Christian, you effing a-hole, and they're drunk, drunk and foul-mouthed and violent, and they're just like everybody else in the world, then we can judge righteously, because Jesus said, out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. So when they have a sewer in their heart, that's why they have a potty for a mouth.
One last question.
All right.
What percentage of Americans do you think are true Christians?
I would have no idea. I think it's minuscule. Her question is, what percentage of Americans do I believe are true Christians?
Not many.
I would put it easily under 10%. I would say 10% is ridiculously generous, and that's why judgment's going to come, because you guys love math, you love science, and God's a great mathematician. And what happened in Sodom and Gomorrah and in the days of Noah? God simply, what's that?
I was a C- math.
All right, but God's a great mathematician, and when He sees a nation and a culture like Sodom and Gomorrah, and the next generation has no one, zero, zip, nada, godly influences, even if someone's parents were wicked, but at least they have an uncle or a teacher or a friend that might be able to tell them about God.
10%.
But,
In this 10%, was it 10%?
Oh, I think 10% is ridiculously generous. I think it's far below 10% of people in America that are actual Christians.
1%?
I don't know. Probably somewhere between 1 and 10. And what that is, I don't know. I don't know everybody's heart. I haven't been everywhere, but I think it's minuscule.
Okay. I'm going to ask you if you wouldn't mind signing a little release for me.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no problem. I'll give you my card so you can. Let me give you my card, Annabelle. Now those are some good. Here you go, Annabelle. Okay. Those are some good questions. All right, hold on. You want to talk for a while? Oh, sorry.